Okay, now this one I'm really excited about. So I've bought a kit for the front suspension of the MG, and I don't know if you can really see in the photo, but there's a bit of sideways play in the front wheels. It's design flaw. This side I've taken the wheel off, and I don't think you're going to be able to see, but there's just a bit of movement there. The kit I've bought puts a new arm here. So this is obviously a shock absorber. This is your lever arm that comes off the shock, acts as your upper pivot, and it puts another one on the back here. I had a quick scan through the instructions. I do have to do some cutting, and I have to move my brake pipe. Give me an excuse to pull it away from the exhaust a little bit, I suppose. But apparently it transforms the handling of these little cars. So, as you can see, I've already started stripping this side down. Let's have a look, see what is in the box. What we essentially have here are the mounting brackets that I am going to paint black. We've got a couple of long bolts, some smaller bolts, some nice rose jointed ends, obviously 2 for each side, and then a couple of shafts to go in the middle with flats on them so they are adjustable. So I don't know if this is which bracket this is, but according to the instructions, the bracket can either be mounted underneath the shock or on top. Apparently if you go under the shock, you can gain a little bit of camber, which on these cars there is no camber built in, so it'd be nice to have a little bit. So I suppose the first thing to do is going to be obviously removing the shock absorber, and then there is some modification here to make space for the arm, which will involve moving the brake pipe. So I'm gonna have to clean up all this old underseal around the brake hose, and yeah, I suppose get cutting. Okay, so I have undone pinch bolt from here. This bolt that goes through the top here has a little cut out there for the pinch bolt, so pinch bolt's got to come out. I couldn't get the pinch bolt past the disc, so what I did was undid the top nut here, took the whole of this off with it, undid the pinch bolt all the way, then that just slides all the way off, put it all back together, job done. So next thing I've got to do is drop the car down, undo the bonnet so I can get to the 3 bolts holding the shock absorbers in. Okay, so let's put my tools down there, because I don't know what size it is yet. Just wanted to point out that this here, this big bolt here, I think it's 21mm or whatever that is, an Imperial, is the fill for the oil. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I put a video a couple of years ago, I'll put a link up here, did a video of upgrading the oil to stiffen up your shock absorbers. I have done my front ones. Didn't do that in the video, I only did the rear ones in the video, but I have also done the front ones. So if you want to do it, that's the one you do. You don't have to take it off to do it, but that's the one you fill up. To undo the shock absorbers, it's these 3 bolts here. And for me, my setup's slightly less accessible, but again, big bolt there, don't undo that, 3 bolts. So I'll get cracking them off. Shock absorbers are off. As you can see, my brake pipe comes up the back of here, and I need to cut out, according to the instructions, very small, but I have to cut out a square approximately 2 inches high, 1.5 inches wide. So 2 inches high, 1.5 inches wide, and that would make clearance for the rear arm that's going to go on here. But obviously, like I said, I need to drill a hole for the brake pipe further back. Fingers crossed it won't be too bad a job to do. As you can see, there's a lot of underseal around here, which I'm going to have to try and clean up, and obviously clean up the patch where the new hole will go. And like I said, my other concern is my exhaust, how close it's going to be to that, but I don't think it'll be too big a problem. There's a lot of space there. Off, finally. This thing was a bastard to get off. So a little bit of heat, managed to get that off. Brake fluid's now pouring all over the floor, over my drip tray. This is a template, 2 inches tall, 1.5 inches wide. So tuck it in there, and then score around it with a little screwdriver. Obviously the hole needs to be drilled somewhere else for the brake hose. Let's put that up there. The problem I've got is, I don't know if I can get the camera in there to show you, I've got like a strengthening rail up here. Move that out of the way. Can't really see it, but it runs straight up here like that. Big box section. So I'm going to put everything back together before I drill the hose for the brakes. I'm hoping there is like a cutout here. If I can get the brake hose to go in there, then without fouling the wheel, then I'll do that, because it's going to make life so much simpler. But once you've traced the outline and cut it out, you have something that looks a bit like that. So I'll show you. There you go. Before, after, before, after. Don't need that bit. Yeah, again, brake hose, hopefully I can go there. Pictures with the instructions show the hose being drilled there, but again, I've got this annoying box section. Oh, you can see it in this one, it's right there. Lights, bit of light there. Yeah, box section is in the way, so hoping I can come down here, because I can still get my hose. Should be able to bend the hose round to there easy enough. So all I've got left to do is drill this the other side, clean it up with a file, paint it black, just like those brackets that when you last saw were just bare mild steel. They're now painted black. They need another coat or two. These are the rods that will come down sort of there like that to the other side of the shock. And if I undo the lock nuts, there's 2 left-hand thread and 2 right-hand thread, obviously 1 for each side. The idea is that when this is on the car, you can use the flats to, you turn the rod one way, and it'll either pull the 2 rods in or out. So full adjustment there. Not sure what adjustment it is adjusting, but when we've done it, we've got it on the alignment machine, we'll have a look. So it says on this sheet, mounting the bracket under the shock will add approximately 0.6 degrees of negative camber, but will affect tracking. Well, we're not bothered about affecting tracking because we're going to align the car again anyway. But so negative camber is the top of the wheel pointing in, like you see on all race cars. I'm assuming, looking at that I'm going to need to fit that bolt first. I suppose I could put it the other way around. We'll have a look. Let's put it all together roughly, and then we'll see what we need to do. So if anyone's wondering, the reason it affects the camber, if you put it at the bottom, is because you're moving the shock absorber, which is essentially the top pivot, up and backwards a little bit. Like I said, the extra camber we can get is an added bonus. So yeah, it's just a case now of get those rods in. And we've got the longer bolt in that kit, which will replace this bolt here. Just remember there is a cutout, and I think the cutout is actually on the head end. Oh no, it is on the threaded end. So the bolt will go the same way, but we'll go through the spherical bearing there first, and that will sit up there a bit like that. That just shows you it's worth reading the instructions. I noticed there's these little tiny thin washers as well, which I figured would be spaces of some kind, and then I thought I'd read the instructions. It does say bolt, then the arm, then the 2 shim washers, that's the small ones, then goes through the bracket, then normal size washer, and then the nut. So make sure you get that right. Alright, they are all assembled. I've wound these all the way in, so that when the bolt's in, I can turn them, and I can turn them the same number at each side. I help at least get the toe close to straight for now, until I get it on the aligner. It should be easier to move, plus OCD. So anyway, yeah, I've taken the bolt out from the trunnion there. There are 2 washers. I've obviously got poly bushes on mine. There are 2 washers for that. Just take the bolt out. Again, like I said, there's a cutout that end, so the bolt obviously goes that way, because the cutout is for the pinch bolt on the arm there. As you can see, if I show that, it is actually not that far out at the moment. And to be honest, if I put my bolt through there, you can actually see it's probably going to be quite a good way to line it up. And it is literally just a case of turn the gold shaft and you'll see that both ends are moving away from their joints. That is too far. Let's go back in a little bit. No, that's the wrong way. There we go. I reckon about there. And then again, you can still adjust these when they're on, which is where he said there was a bit of alignment. So I want to go about there. Just lock that off by hand for the moment. I also haven't done up the bolt at the back yet. That is still loose. There we go. Right, so we know that's kind of got half a chance of fitting now. So we'll go back to our instructions. And we've got a picture of, it says here, bolt, then the triangulation arm, which is the new arm. Then there's a spacer, which is, it's like a little cone. There we go, there's your spacer. And spacer, then the bushes, trunnion bushes, and then the shock absorber arm, then a washer, then a nut. And we've obviously got our washers either side of our poly bushes as well, so bolt, then our spacer. Ooh, push the bolt all the way out. Try and do this one-handed. I don't know how well this will work. And we've got our... This isn't going to work one-handed. I'll do it two-handed. I'll do both sides. Then I'll show you. Right, all assembled and back together. Actually quite pleased with it. I think when it's on wheels it should be fine. Speaking of wheels, I've put the other one on so I can have a look at this brake pipe. Now I don't know if you can make it out in the camera actually, but you can actually see the camber in that wheel. So pleased with that. Very, very pleased. Now what might be easier would be to go up with the ramp, just so I can put the car on full lock and see whether drilling the hole for the brake pipe where I wanted to put it is going to be in the way, which I think it will. Oh, that's two hands on that. There we go. Yeah. That's the brake pipe there. I mean, we could come straight down there actually. That might be a better option there. We've got the same option here as well. That's going to be out the way. And then if I go on, if I look that way, it still reaches. Okay, so I'm going to move my brake pipe hole right down there. I'm going to have to undo that brake pipe and probably make a new one to come down the bottom here, and the same on this side. Oh no, that one should actually reach. That one's got enough excess in it to reach. The one this side's on a T-piece. So we'll back off, drill a hole, fit the brake pipes, brake hoses, modify or make new brake pipes, bleed the brakes, do alignment, send. I've got to be honest, I'm really hoping this is coming out on the video, but the car handles so much differently, so much better. You hit a bump and it doesn't, the car just doesn't seem to want to be throwing you all over the place like it was before. Front end is so much more planted, gives you a lot more confidence. I'm a bit restricted because my brake hoses are now slightly too short, so I'm limiting myself, I've checked, I'm limiting myself to a turn of the steering wheel each way. Which just stops the brake hoses being stretched too much. The last thing I want to do is rip them out while I'm driving. Obviously I am going to get new brake hoses, probably get some braided ones. Oh, wide van coming up here. But yeah, the steering feels so much better as well. It's just so nice to have that confidence That's third. It's so nice to have confidence back, and this is already a good fun car, and now it's a whole nother level. Bumps in the road here. This is quite a bumpy section of road. I'm not having to correct the steering wheel. That's probably the first time since I've owned the car. Maybe when it had its original engine. Maybe, I know the K series in this is a lot lighter than the original Triumph engine. Maybe that made the difference. Maybe it was where I lowered the front end a little bit. I don't know. This is good. Money well spent. Money very well spent.